Okay, George.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the first brand new Horizon INC annual meeting on Zoom. Welcome. But first, I want to thank Jane Lorimer and Maggie Price for all the hard work and countless hours they put in getting us to this point. Thank you both very, very much. Also, I'd like to, I'm going to call this meeting to order on the 18th of July at 9:05 to begin with. I want to thank all of you today. Those who represent your neighborhoods and your city, you are all volunteers. We are all volunteers. And you are the true American citizens. Thank you all very much for participating. To our board of directors and the executive committee for making Denver a better place to live, I thank you for your dedication. Individually, I would like to thank these three people for their guidance and wisdom in keeping me focused for the past 3 years. Margie Valdez, Maggie Price, and Jane Lorimer.
You got dressed?
I want to thank you all very much. Please mute yourself. Thank you. I'd like to also mention Steve Nissen, our past treasurer, for his dedication to this organization. And he's needed a break, and he's taking it. He and Greg Sorensen have worked together for several months in adopting a more understandable means of controlling our finances. Steve, for all those so many years of service, and including the Dollar Dictionary Drive, we thank you very much. And finally, one more. She has made our annual awards dinner fun, enjoyable, and profitable. Jane Potts. Through her hard work and dedication, those profits were dispersed throughout Denver for needy food banks to the tune of $25,000. Thank you, Jane, for your hard work and dedication. Denver thanks you. And to all of us, it's our city. Get involved. Thank you. Now, to begin with, I would like to have Blair Taylor take over and announce the 2020 Board of Elections results. Blair?
Hi, George. Thanks so much. That was really great. I hope everybody can hear me. The election results are, I'm hoping the slide is going to come up. There it is. Okay. The election results are President Loretta Kohler from Baker Neighborhood, Secretary Blair Taylor from Greater Park Hill. The 3 delegates at large are Emmett Hobley from Montbello, Jane Potts from Rosedale Harvard Gulch, and Maggie Price from Congress Park. Congratulations. I think there are about 56 respondents, 56 votes. And thanks so much, George. You are amazing. I am so appreciative to have worked with you. And I know everybody else feels the same way.
Thank you. It's only because of the support from this organization. Let's see. We need to ratify real quickly. I'm going to ask all of you to look for ballot after this meeting to vote on the approval for the February 8 delegate meeting minutes, and to ratify the appointment of our new treasurer, Greg Sorensen, who was approved unanimously by the board to take over for Steve Nissen. So please, that will be online. It will help save a lot of time and move right along. With that in mind, I'm going to jump right into the zoning and planning resolution presentation. And I'm going to ask Christine O'Connor to please read the resolution forthwith. So please, Christine, are you on?
Yes, I'm here, and I was going to do the resolution in a second on page 3 of the PowerPoint. First, I want to welcome everybody. There's a lot of new faces or new numbers and new names on this, and I'm really glad to see this is a very important issue we're going to be at least discussing for a few minutes here. So let me just see if I can get the PowerPoint. Okay, here we go. So I just want to, I think most people are here because they know about the group living proposal, but I want to make sure that everybody knows what it is. It's a citywide zoning change to Article 11 of the code, which is titled Use Limitations and Definitions. And this work started because the 2008 moratorium on new community corrections facility was due to expire in 2018. That's what began this work. And then the charge to the Group Living Advisory Committee was to review all types of residential care at the same time. For example, tiny home villages, co-ops, artist residents, 55 and over, transitional care, community corrections, shelters. And the final proposal, which just came out last night at 5:30, and we are going to be discussing those details next Saturday in a similar Zoom meeting, so I hope everybody comes. The final changes address those residential care issues, but also change the household definition to increase the number of related people who can live in a housekeeping unit. So our resolution has 3 parts. First, we recommend Denver debundle the household definition portion of the proposal and the residential care portion of the proposal. Second, we recommend that Denver not move forward on the new household definition portion of the text amendment without a concurrent regulation creating a rental registry. Such a registry would be through excise and licenses and could require registration, licensing, inspection of all properties being used as rentals. The third element of the resolution is that we recommend the city rethink and make mandatory outreach by CPD to minority communities, to persons not active in RNOs or receiving communications from RNOs, registered neighborhood organizations, or through social media, to the broader community not reached in the 4 town halls, to renters, so as to proactively gather input from all corners of the city. INC strongly recommends that CPD be required to include Black, Indigenous, people of color, and renters in full discussion for every planning initiative and for work on all proposed text amendments. Just a word about the rental registry. Ian Tafoya and I, Ian is my co-chair on the zoning and planning, and we've been working on this issue for many, many months. We talked with Councilwoman Gilmore's office. And in 2018, Denver's own report had recommended that the city move towards a rental registry in order to support the safety and well-being of renters. And Councilwoman Gilmore is right now working with Excise and License. Her office has a draft that's almost ready, not quite ready, and stakeholder input will begin shortly. But that work was not combined with the group living work, and at our ZAP meeting, we voted to include that second provision. Why are we making a resolution at this point? There are many Denver residents focused on the impact of COVID and really serious issues like making sure they're not evicted next week at the end of the month, meeting rents and mortgage payments, finding childcare, what's going to happen when the schools open or don't open. That's one real reason. There are many members who think we should be focused on funneling tons of care in those directions. And thankfully, City Council increased relief for evictions and rental assistance last Monday. And I'm really appreciative of that. That's the kind of thing that I think is really critical. ZAP members have raised a lot of questions and concerns and don't find the answers by CPD and neighborhood inspection satisfactory. Unintended consequences were not analyzed. Nobody went through and said, is this amendment going to really actually reduce rental evictions or increase evictions so landlords can jump up rents and so investors can come in and buy up single family properties for rental units? Those kind of issues weren't analyzed by the GLAC. Next, the failure of CPD to follow a fair and consistent process. I have a lot of information on that. We won't have time to do much. No representation on this committee from 6 of the 11 council districts. Example of the representation issues, this is just one example. But 22% of the 48 people who were appointed to the group living don't even reside in Denver, and they were helping to decide the future of Denver. In the end, at the very last meeting, only 20, please mute yourselves because I'm hearing background. Only 20 of the 48 members were even present for the final meeting. 18 voted, and of those 18, a third of them were either city staff, city electeds, or appointed planning board members. So the representation is a big issue. So here's some ground rules. Of course, refrain from attacks on other participants. One speaker at a time. Ian will call on people. We want the questions and comments limited to 3 minutes and only addressed to this resolution. And please mute your mic when you're not speaking. You can ask questions on chat. Ian is reading those. You can raise your hand online, and I just figured this out recently, so I'm going to just tell you, if you go to the participant list, open the participant box on the side, and way down at the bottom, on the bottom right, is a place to raise your hand. And for those that are on the telephone, we will ask periodically if there's questions from those on the phone.
Christine,
yeah.
This is Ian. I just want to let everyone know that I'm going to do my best here to keep a log, but there's something that we can do that makes it really easy for me to know what order people want to make a comment in. And we use this when I organize online. You can put plus marks like this in the chat or a set of letters, but it lets me know if everybody can go to the chat. It's pretty easy. You can write in a question there, or you can place it in like this. And that way I'll know who to call on next. If you do happen to raise your hand, I will try my best. And I'm going to try to stop every few to make sure that we go to people on the phone. I'm going to count and see how many people are on the phone. I will be using a timer. I will be asking folks to wrap it up when they get to their time limit. So if that makes any sense, or if there's questions right now, please type them in the chat and I will try to answer them so that we can make sure that this first online Zoom town hall goes well for us.
Okay, may I please interject? There are 54 participants and 40 are voting delegates, just so you know.
And please, Ian and Christine, I think there's at least one person on the phone. Can we make sure that we at least verbally say who's, what the question is, repeat the question because they can't read the question, and make sure that we have the name, because some people I don't think rename themselves. So if we have a clear name, because I know it's sometimes your name becomes some long thing, whatever your account is on your computer. So if we actually have an actual name, that would be helpful. Thanks.
Okay. And there is, if it just depends on whether people want to talk about the resolution or people have much broader issues, and there are many, many broader issues. But we're going to try to keep this conversation initially, the first part, to the resolution. So I want to make it abundantly clear, this resolution does not constitute a vote by INC for or against the final amendment that was published at 5:30 last night. The timing is unfortunate. It's 47 pages long or something, it's long. So that's not what we're voting on, whether to indicate support on that. We're voting on this resolution and discussing it. So this just suggests a better process to overcome an unfair and inconsistent process. And the next step is Saturday, we will be discussing the final amendment that was reproduced yesterday. So if you're not on our list, please send an email right now to zoningplanning@denverinc.org. Okay, the voting process, only delegates can vote. I think, Jane, did we change this in the end? Well, I'm going to leave this because the last I heard, we were going to send a ballot out, both on this. So with that in mind, let me know, Ian, if I should go back to any slide.
You should definitely put the resolution back up.
Okay.
So that people can read it. And if you can make it full screen in view.
Okay. How's that?
It'll work. Now the discussion will begin. So Lucia, are you asking to speak now?
Actually, we
Not just yet.
need to take a vote on the resolution and have it seconded, then we go to discussion. So do I hear,
Motion.
do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
This is Jane Potts, so moved.
I hear a second.
This is Greg Sorensen. I second it.
Second by Gordon. Discussion. Any discussion?
So
Travis has asked to speak.
Yep, I see Travis's hand. Thank you.
Hi, folks. I was just wanting to let you all know that Capitol Hill United Neighborhoods feels that the process has been satisfactory, and we have already endorsed the Group Living Advisory Committee recommendations, and we did so a couple of weeks ago. So we vote no in with respect to this motion.
We haven't called for a vote.
Have you?
We will be voting no then.
Yeah.
I see Lou Raiders is next.
Yes, Cherry Creek North, and I don't believe that Annette, my other representative, was on the line, but we have had discussions at Cherry Creek North with a lot of concerns raised. We had a Zoom call with Mr. Webb, like I know many of you have, and the resulting overwhelming majority of residents that I have heard from are very concerned. So Cherry Creek North will be supporting this resolution.
Loretta, I see you next.
So I've had an opportunity for the past year and a half, 2 years or whatever, to go over and talk to the neighborhood that I represent, Baker Historic Neighborhood Association. And so we've had long, lengthy discussions, and I'm sorry, who was that? Was that, who commented previously? Anyway, I just want to agree with them that yes, we've had discussions where we're satisfied with the process. I've kept them apprised of all the meetings, and I took this to our neighborhood meeting on Tuesday evening, and Baker neighborhood is again supporting that GLAC move forward. So we're voting no.
Okay, the next one here is from the chat. It's from Tim Carl. I asked that we discuss more clarity around the debundle language to be specific around household definition and concerns around the language to be specific to reasons why. Virginia Village Ellis Community Association is in support of the resolution provided. We can allow for additional clarification. I think maybe this is a clarification question to you, Christine.
Okay. So as I alluded to, when this process started, it was the city put together a number of providers and operators of care facilities to try to work on tweaking, that was their word, not mine, tweaking some barriers in the code that prevented, for example, if you were building a shelter and you wanted to build a transitional unit next to it and then a single residency unit next to that, you weren't allowed to. It was single use. So there were a lot of little tweaks that were needed to the zoning code. It expanded because of the interest from some of the people living in co-ops. It expanded to changing the household definition. And it's our position in this resolution that the city can debundle that and work on the huge issues it's facing in terms of residential care and discuss those issues with the communities, and then move on to the household unit discussion that's going to affect every single unit in the entire city at the same time that we deal with the habitability issues, the enforcement issues, and there are some neighborhoods on here that have had a lot of enforcement issues in terms of habitability, mold, external impacts, parking, weeds, crime in the homes. There are all sorts of issues that we think have to be dealt with in the household discussion, the housekeeping unit discussion, before that goes through. So that's what we're talking about, debundling. Tim, does that answer your question?
This is Tim Carl. For the most part, it does. I feel that the resolution in its context, based on what you said, in my opinion, should incorporate some of those bullet points so that we're clear as an organization what those factors are that we wish to ask the city to expand upon. And that's what I'm asking as part of this discussion.
That's a great point. And we have done that in the long letter Ian and I submitted, and in several conversations at zoning and planning. We had members come and we made a whole list of concerns. We have not done it in the resolution. You're correct. And I don't know that we can craft all that language while we're on the phone. So let some other people chat and see what people think.
Okay, next up I have Trisha Schmidt, and then we're gonna have Pam Giner and then Susan Payne.
Hi, my name is Trisha Schmidt. I represent the Country Club Historic Neighborhood, and we too have had Andrew Webb come talk to us, and we are all very appreciative of the intention behind the group living proposal. But we also have some concerns regarding sort of the lack of safeguards, if you will, for some unintended consequences, and would prefer to see some of those risks potentially addressed before moving forward with the proposal. We also would encourage, I think there just needs to be more discussion from a citywide perspective and more inclusive overall on this. And so our position would be to vote yes for this resolution as well when voting comes in. And I also have another second question, which is I know my other delegate from my neighborhood was having technology issues. So I'm not sure, Christine, I think you mentioned that you might do this via ballot email as a vote, as opposed to just raising hands now at the end of this meeting. And I'm wondering if that might not be easier for everybody so that we can make sure that we get all the delegates voted for anyone who was unable for technology reasons to attend this meeting. Thank you.
I'm going to defer to Jane on the ballot issue, but your co-host, co-delegate does need to call in to get registered in order to vote. You can't vote if you're not at this meeting.
She did call in, and I think that she sent someone a message saying that she had no sound, so she had to get off, and she asked the host if she could give you my proxy, but she hasn't heard an answer yet. So her name is Kathleen Economos. So that's...
Oh, well, we heard her and saw her, so
it might just be on her end. So that's all I can say. I don't know any more than what I told you. Sorry.
okay.
Okay, maybe you can go into the chat and try to figure that part out. The next person up is Pam Jiner.
Good morning, everyone. This is Pam Jiner in Montbello. I'm here, I guess, representing Montbello 2020. I'm very, very happy to see the INC resolution requesting a separation of the group living and the household living proposal. I think that that is very necessary so that we could zoom in on the household issues, concerns that we have here in the Montbello area. We have been living with multi-families, unrelated people, numbers living in a particular household. I mean, we have families out here that number 14 and 15 in a 3-bedroom apartments. And I'm speaking from experience, from working with the community up close. And the fact that there is no restriction on the number of children allowed in these households is a major concern for me as a 15-year foster parent. Children have rights, and I think we need to zoom in or focus on what the children's rights are in living in quarters like this. We have our seniors in homes of, with families of 15 unrelated people, and it's not working. It's uncomfortable. It's not clean. It's not healthy. It affects our neighborhood in terms of, traffic, parking, trash, so many things, just neighbor disturbances. We're concerned here in Montbello about zoning right-of-way responsibilities that have not been dealt with effectively so far. It's going to worsen if this goes into effect. It's going to worsen in our communities. We are not a coveted community. We don't have homeowners association. And these communities will hurt. I mean, we truly will hurt very, very badly if something like this passes. And so I am very, very happy to see INC's resolution, and we will be supporting it here in Montbello. Thank you.
So, Ian?
Susan Payne is next.
Okay.
Hi, this is Susan Payne from Wash Park East. And just a short comment, I don't see any viable reason that the household definition should be included with the rest of this information. And so I will vote in favor of debundling. I think it's a totally separate issue, and based on what the previous speakers have said, I absolutely agree with that. Thank you.
Ian?
Christine, are you trying to get in line here? Is that your hand up?
Well, I wanted to know if you wanted me to come back to Tim's suggestion. And I also wanted to answer Susan Payne's query about the need or any perceived need to deal with both at the same time. Would you like me to do that now or later? I can wait till everyone's done with their initial comments if you want.
I'm seeing more hands go up here. Are you keeping a list on your end of the things you'd like to say?
Yes.
Okay, we'll keep you to the end. I think at this point, I want to go to the phone and see if there's anybody on the phone. I see a 1213 number and a 6969 number. Would either of you like to jump on and comment?
I am 1213.
And who are you?
My name is Susan Shannon. I'm West Wash Park on the zoning committee. I don't believe I'm a delegate, but I wanted to listen.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a comment?
Yes, if I could vote, I'd vote in favor of the resolution.
Okay. So the other number 6969, I don't actually see on the participant list anymore.
It's there.
Is it? Okay, so the 6969, if you'd like to say anything, please go ahead.
This is a delegate.
Who are you?
From Mount Bello.
It's Emmett.
Oh, okay.
Emmett Hobbs, delegate from Mount Bello.
Gotcha.
And I voted in favor of splitting the resolution.
To clarify, you mean in favor of splitting work on the proposal?
Yeah, debundling it and treating it as two separate issues.
Thank you.
You are aware, Emmett, that there is more to the resolution since you're on the phone?
I am.
Also requires a rental registry? Okay, I just want to make sure that you weren't saying you were.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm in favor of a rental registry. I think I think we've had enough regulation of our community, and I think that our community needs to take the point, and if there's going to be any regulation, it's going to come from the community. I don't think we can have people from the outside of our community telling us how our community should be run anymore. So I'm very leery about bringing in new rules and new laws.
Okay, so I just want to be clear, Emmett, though, that if you vote in favor as a delegate, you will be voting for the registry in addition to the debundling and also an improved community outreach process.
Yeah, so I'm gonna hold my vote for a minute.
Okay. I'm seeing a few more people jump on. Emily and Marlene, I see you here. I'll get you in the list. The next is Steve from BHNA. Steve from BHNA.
There's Lucia from BHNA. I don't see Steve. Steve, are you here?
This hand is raised.
My Steve is not on, so it's not him. It may be some other Steve.
Well, it may be some other representative from BHNA.
I don't see anyone.
It's DBH. Oh, you know, that's weird.
That is weird, Lucia.
It is me, but that's not what I renamed myself to, so I don't.
Oh, that's you. Okay, Lucia, you're up next, Lucia.
Okay, I don't know what's up with that, but anyway, sorry. This is Lucia, president of the Baker Historic Neighborhood Association, and Loretta already talked a little bit, but I feel like you guys are trying. You know, you're allowing the perfect to be the enemy of the good here, and you know, this group gives a lot of lip service to affordability, but then you don't act when you're given the opportunity to do so. So I think the city can go back and deal with any unintended consequences that happen as they do. That's fine. We don't have to prevent things from happening. And the person in Montbello, you know, those people who are living in these, what you think of as uncomfortable, crowded houses, I tell you, it may be uncomfortable, but it's a hell of a lot more comfortable than being on the street. And finally, I just feel like this resolution is the most NIMBY racist BS disguised as concern for, you know, your neighborhood character and safety and all that baloney. You know, there are a lot of houses that already exist with lots of unrelated renters in it, but they just, nobody knows. Nobody turns them in. They're not causing a problem. we are in a crisis in this pandemic of homelessness, and it's going to get a lot worse as more people lose their jobs. And you are preventing people from finding homes with this kind of BS. So BHNA has already gone on the record and written a letter, you know, against this motion. So I hope that the rest of you will think about that and what it really means about who you are as a neighborhood and how you vote. Thanks.
Okay, next is Katie Fisher.
Hi there, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. This is
Yes.
Katie Fisher, who lives over in the University neighborhood, and that refers to the University of Denver. And we are in favor of the INC resolution. We have, as you've all seen, I've attended all the ZAP meetings, and we have spent countless months discussing all of this. And I totally agree with the statements. It's time to look at some of these, get more answers from CDP. And the other thing we've got going is, if you look at some of the charts, you see where a lot of the complaints come from are around the University of Denver and things. It's a very complex question. We need to step back. We need to get real answers from the city. We're totally in favor of the registry. We go crazy in this neighborhood with some 90%, maybe not 90, more like 80% are rentals. And we're always unable to try to verify who is the landlord, who is being notified of things going on. Sometimes the students are at fault. Other times it is the landlord who owns it. And in most cases, it's corporations or LLCs that are owning these properties, and we can't get resolution. So I'm totally in favor of the INC resolution. Thank you.
Okay, next I have Emily Walker. And Lucia and Katie, if you could lower your hands, and Christina as well, so we can move up the list.
Hi there, this is Emily Holben Walker. I am I'm delegate for INC and president of the University Hills neighborhood in Southeast Denver. And we are in favor of the resolution. We have had a lot of community meetings about this, and we've talked about it a lot. We think that this should definitely be debundled. These things do not belong together. So we agree completely. This should be debundled. We also support the idea, the second idea as far as the regulation, the concurrent regulation through excise and licensing in our community. You know, we live in a hardworking, friendly community. There are a lot of people that are living in slumlord situations. Actually, a family that their children go to school with my children. The landlord, for example, was not repairing the furnace during the winter months. I mean, so we think that making sure landlords are keeping their homes safe and habitable and healthy is very important, because that's going on all over in our neighborhood. And we were also very disappointed with the level of outreach and participation as far as people throughout the city and in all of the districts. Not just the city council districts, but we were also disappointed at the lack of different perspectives, people from different backgrounds. It was disappointing to see how much of the makeup of GLAC and to see how much conflict of interest might exist there. So we are in favor today of all three parts.
Okay, next I have Marlene.
Yes, we are also in favor of the resolution.
Our main we want to address is increasing the number of unrelated people in a single residence. We think that this could be because of parking problem. We think that this is not the time to do something like this with the coronavirus. We feel much safer in single family homes, and that is our concern. We certainly hope you are addressing the problem we will have if we increase the number of unrelated people living in a single family home. So we'll vote for this, and we hope that this resolution is addressing this. Thank you.
Okay. Next, I had Pam Jiner again.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry for coming back, but this comment is to Emmett in regards to the rental registry. I just want to share with you some of my observations and some of the numbers that I've accumulated in working with our community here in Montbello in feeding them. You know, I've been running a mobile community food pantry since March. And there's one apartment complex in Montbello that has 800 rental units. We fed on last Wednesday 283 individuals signed up. Of those 283 people that were standing in line and cars that were waiting for food, 983 family members in total were provided food. What we're saying here is that if they have 800 rental units and 283 people came out from their units to get food, and we fed 983 people, 100 of them were seniors, and 362 of that 983 were children. That is not even half of the number of people that are residing in this apartment complex. Many of them, most of them, are totally unrelated. And this is the problem we have. Can you imagine the problem that complex is having with trash? Can you imagine the problem that complex is having with traffic and with parking? There is not enough parking spaces. Our streets are over flooded with parking. People in this community are running their business and supporting their families with their vehicles. They all have individual businesses. We have trucks, ladders, cement companies, roofing companies. I mean, all of these businesses have equipment, and that is what's clogging the streets. We have cars and trucks parked on lawns. You know, it's not a neighborhood. It's not a community anymore. We are an industrial area. No longer residential, it is now an industrial area because of the number of people that are living in these communities. And I'm really, really concerned also about the homeowners in this community who no longer live in this community but rent in this community, that we are having trouble locating the homeowners because of the problems, to relate to them the problems that are going on with their renters and the number of people and things that they're doing in their homes. So we also support the rental registry. To the woman who made that statement about the homeless issue in Denver, Colorado, I agree with you. We have a huge homeless issue, and we are concerned, caring, compassionate, heartbroken over this issue. But this issue is not the responsibility of economically challenged communities. This proposal is cramming homelessness into economically challenged communies, because that's the only community that will, you know, pretty much take them in. And it's not fair. The city has a responsibility to help solve this issue, and cramming them into people's homes that will take them in communities that are not covered.
If you'd like to, Pam, your time is up. If you'd like to get back in line, I can get you on here again.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ian, I would
Yes.
like for the person signed in as SJNBE. If you are a delegate, I will need your full name on screen, please.
Okay, so I have, Loretta, I have you here in the line, but I want to give Christina a chance to answer that. And I want to read, there was some stuff about public health in here from Travis. Travis, so you're saying that you're interested in having a conversation between the Colorado Department of Colorado Public Health, and the intersection with group living for health. Is that like a topic you'd like to see us have?
Well, I think before we make blanket statements with respect to public health, it makes sense to engage actual public health experts, physicians, and the like to comment on the efficacy or lack thereof of group living and the potential ramifications. And unless there's an MD on the call or other public health researchers, I just think we should steer clear of making broad sweeping generalities with respect to that piece of this, because I would rather hear from the experts on that.
Okay, so I have Emmett, you also got in line here. Christine, you want to go ahead and answer some of the questions you have?
Yeah, just on that last one, maybe we should have Councilwoman Gilmore's office present pretty quickly, because she's been working with the public health experts and with Excise and License on the horrible violations of habitability that have been happening in her council district. So I think that would be a very good idea. I wanted to talk just a couple comments. Regulation. I know we love it, we hate it, but just keep in mind, regulation doesn't always have to be avoided. I know bicyclists want regulations keeping cars out of the bike lanes. Many of us want regulations on fracking. Many of us do and don't want regulations on guns. These are heated issues, but I believe we need to look at them very carefully instead of just saying we'll just let it happen. I want to talk about a proposal I could make, and I'm not sure it's my place, but I wrote down some language for changing number 2, because I think I see Tim's point, which is the concurrent rental registry deals with habitability issues very clearly. But I wonder if we could say that INC recommends Denver not move forward on the new household definition portion of the text amendment without addressing the household definition section more thoughtfully to address external impacts, such as increasing the number of people who can live in a unit, infrastructure, trash, parking, etc., and address the habitability issue with a concurrent regulation on creating a rental registry. So it would both look at external impacts and then what's going on in the units, which I know community planning and development and a couple of leaders on this think it doesn't matter what goes on in a unit. It's only the external impacts that matter. But when we had neighborhood inspection services last week, they talked about how hard it is to enforce, and they're looking forward to this regulation going through because then they won't get as many calls. And I think what Montbello is pointing out is that we're not getting a response there anyway. We have a real problem with our complaint system. So I'm wondering if that language might address Tim's concerns, and if we should even recraft it to include the fact that it's both looking at external impacts and habitability and internal impacts.
Well, Christine, if you want to make a decision to try to amend this on the floor, I would ask that since you have to your computer, you would type it so the rest of us could see. And then if that, I think it's okay if you take this away for a minute to go ahead and do that, if that's your plan. I also want to go back to the phone. Is there anyone on the phone? Emmett, I know you were on the phone. I see you got in on the stack.
Ian, I haven't had a chance to respond. Could you please let me?
Well, we were going for the phones. We were just gonna go.
Okay,
into-
that's fine, but
that-
I think we're getting off topic, and I think this goes to what can actually be on this, because you're talking about issues that are off the table for something in this specific area. It's in group living under this statute, under this ordinance, there's specific things that you can't even add. And I think we're getting off topic, and I think that takes time away from the reality of what can even be put onto it. So take the calls.
Okay, Emmett, go ahead.
Well, he has.
Okay. I see Kim here saying that he's interested in the change too, so we're gonna give Christine a moment to do that. I don't see Emily. Your hand has been up. Emily, I'll come back to you, Loretta. Is Emily, your hand's been up, and I just want to make sure that you're not trying to get back in and you just forgot to put your hand down. Okay. I see Marlene. So Loretta, you go ahead, and then we're gonna go Marlene, and then I see Adrian.
Okay. So please, you need to really look at and working in housing and being in legal issues and being an attorney and working on housing issues, warranty of habitability is under the state statute 38-12-503. We need to realize that habitability issues are going to be, and Ian, you can talk to this about what the legislature is working on habitability. There have been some changes on habitability, but that's a legislative issue. So it's not a state, it's not a city issue. And it's like, and there's issues of the group living committee did look at and did talk to the fire department. So the initial number of 8 was because of what they could regulate under other issues. So things are not going away, as in you have to have egress to get out of a basement. There's things that are not going to go away. Safety issues are not going to be gone. You still have to have other things in place. Those are not going away. So the other issue is, speaking of issues of parking, the group living can't regulate parking. So you can talk about parking all day long, but that's not something that can be regulated under this ordinance. So that's not going to change. That has to be somewhere else. And just to make note, in Baker, what we've done is we have a parking restrictions, and you have to have parking, in front of your house. And so we have a limited amount of parking. So that's how it's regulated. So that's one thing that you need to know. We can talk about parking all day long. That's not going to go into this ordinance. It's not going to change. That won't be a part of it. So I think talking about it just takes us off topic. Talking about habitability, you might think that there are some things that can go into the ordinance that may be true, but you can't go against the Colorado statute. Please Google it. You'll be able to look at Colorado habitability. Please look at that. The other issue at stake is there's a discussion about, regulating how many people. The governor has come back. Just remember, the governor has lifted the number of how many household members how many people can be in a household right now. He's asking all cities to lift that number. That's the governor asking for that. And that is in the context of COVID-19 and the high number of unemployment. So that's already been addressed in some regard. So I want people just to acknowledge that those things are in the works at a statewide level, because they're recognizing that. So there is an issue, and there was.
Loretta, if you could, you're at 3 minutes. If you'd like to get back in line, I can get you back in line.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to answer your question about habitability since you were asked. And then, George, I see that you're raising your hand, or thanks for letting us know George was raising his hand on the screen. I'll go, if you can go after me, because I'll let you in. As far as habitability goes, and we fought last year to try to get wins that had to do with things like mold. And there's been pushes to try to do something about how much it costs for application fees. I want to be clear that I am in favor of a rental registry. I think had typically been a state issue, but a licensure through the city makes it a city issue. And it empowers people from being taken advantage of by slumlords. It also does other great things, like create a system where somebody can pay just one time to have their background check done, and then they can take that to the rental registry and they can rent in any apartment instead of having to fill out an application over and over and over again. I want to address what you said about the fire department. Yes, the fire department and many people were involved in this. We, Christine and I, have been asking for fact sheets for these quick and easy to go to guides for NIS and for public health and for safety. And we haven't gotten them yet. And yes, I know that it has been COVID, but I want to be clear, we began asking for these long before COVID. And we continue to struggle to get the information that we'd liked in a timely manner to get to this point. I also want to point out that they admittedly said they failed on doing outreach to people of color. And it was, again, them saying, we'll get it right next time. Well, as you know, I was appointed to the Blueprint Denver Task Force, and this is one of the large reasons why we held up the Blueprint Task Force. How many times do we hire the same consultants to make the same mistakes? I come from a business background. If you keep making the same mistake, we go to a different company. I don't know how many times they can only have 10 people in a room or have huge disparities in their outreach and think that the system they're doing is right. Agree that only 6 of 11 districts is disconcerting. It's something maybe we should have caught long before now, instead of using it as an example of why we should pause this. I hope that answers your questions, but I am hopeful about the rental registry. And I will say that I voted no to send this out of committee because I was very concerned that we would be haranguing an issue that we could separate, like the group living from the other issues. But with the rental registry, I am pleased to say that I am very happy that we are very close to that. And it gives me more hope if this were to pass. So George, I'll go to you next. And then I have George, then Marlene, Adrian, and Sydney John.
First of all, I want to recommendations and your viewpoint. I want to take this organization back 10 years when short-term rentals came into view, and it caused LLCs to jump into Denver with both feet, trying to buy properties up, flooding neighborhoods, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It took IMC to have a subcommittee of short-term rentals, 2 years working with the city and Mary Beth Sussman at the time to craft laws to protect neighborhoods and the rentals and the renters. So a rental registry with excise and licensing is definitely needed because it protects everyone. That's just my part. Thank you.
Christine, can you keep that off the screen for now until we get to the point where you move it?
Yeah, if there's
And
anybody,
I will go back to the original one. I would appreciate that.
I will be voting for this resolution.
Before we go to you, Marlene, I just want to read this one from the chat from Wendy. I would like to have the ZAP co-chairs discuss whether and how Governor Polis' signaling of the state possibly forcing cities to temporarily stop limiting how many unrelated people can live together affects this resolution. Isn't it better for the city to get ahead of this issue by moving forward with this proposal? I think that that's a very interesting question. I did see that in the news where he was signaling about group living. It does appear that the state sees that as a solution for the housing crisis that's looming. But I want to, there's a lot more that Polis could do other than just pushing this on the cities as a solution. There are empty apartments that he's had the authority to fill for a very long time. And so empty apartments and hotel rooms. So I'm not sure if you want to get on in here and you want to speak and say, how you feel about how this affects the proposal in your mind. And Christine, I want to give you space to answer too.
That the same question about Polis's request that people temporarily, well, he has he doesn't want to keep the landlords unhappy much longer. So he would like to get back to letting them collect And I think he's worried that that step will increase evictions, and he wants to have a solution, and that's his idea. I'm worried that, in fact, the solution of raising the number will increase the number of investors. Already 37% of our stock is owned by real estate investment trusts and investors, and some people who just own one other house too. But a lot of out-of-state companies, this is their new business model, to swoop in, buy up affordable units and turn them into rentals. So I am very wary. Plus, we don't agree with Polis all the time. I did see his move, and I appreciate that he's trying to solve something. But as Candy's pointed out, like preserving affordable housing before these investors come in and flip them or raise the rents or take them off the market, so that families, and especially African-American families who have like a very small portion of the generational wealth that white families have the opportunity to get that stock and to buy in. So that would be my response on the Polis.
Okay. I did see a question here from Lucia. You know, during the declared emergency, the question was, how does he have the power to put people in housing? In his emergency declaration powers and his executive orders, when he declares emergencies, there's an explicit letter there. I think it's I, where he can take housing for the emergency. This is something that the Hispanic Bar Association and a lot of other groups were pushing on early on in the crisis during the stay-at-home order, to house the homeless, rather than putting them into parks and putting them into these encampments throughout the city. That was a solution. And it's honestly the solution that many of the housing advocates want. The camping is really a secondary solution for them. They would rather have housing first. So Marlene, that makes you next.
Yes, I neglected to say that I represent Hutchinson Hills Willow Point, and I do agree if you could put some wording in this resolution that addresses the concern and the problem with increasing the number of unrelated people living in a single family home. I don't know, are we trying to do too much in one resolution? And I do recognize that there should be a registry for rental people. I do recognize that's important, but our big concern is raising the number of unrelated people in a home. We feel that's our big concern. Thank you.
Okay, Adrian, that makes you next.
Yes, this is Adrian Brown. I hope you can hear me. I would suggest, Madam and Master Chair, that we go ahead. If we're going to change any part of this resolution, then pretty much everyone's going to have to vote no or abstain, because we haven't seen the language and circulated it to our members. So I don't see how that can work as a procedural matter. What can work, and I would strongly suggest we do this, is that we unbundle these three resolutions, make them three separate resolutions, and vote on each of them separately. That would allow, for example, if we're going to change the second item, that it could be tabled until that change has been circulated and considered at our next meeting. It would allow people to vote on specific issues, as one previous person said, very different issues. The first item does something which I believe and Baker believes is very beneficial, which is by debundling the household definition from the residential care portion, it will allow the residential portion to go forward without having to address the very difficult issue of household definition. And that would get those folks off the hook and leave for debate the household definition part. So I don't know whether it's a procedural move, but I would move that we debundle these three items and consider them separately here and now. I believe that's a procedural motion and needs to be voted on.
All right, I want to clarify here. I heard you talking about tabling as well.
And I was just saying that would give the opportunity for people to vote on stuff, either to table it or whatever. I'm not recommending that we table any of this stuff, but I think that as long as people find that there are poison pills in this, like the rental registry is apparently for the speaker from Montbello, they're going to have to vote against the whole thing. And so we're going to lose the benefit of this very careful consideration in ZAP and in INC and in all of your member organizations about portions of this that people want to go forward. And I see as a good way around this and is to debundle these and consider them separately right here, right now, and people can vote accordingly. We've all considered each of these three, so we won't have to go back to our membership to do so. And I so move, and as a procedural motion, I believe it needs to be voted on now.
I think we might need to pause and just take a break for a second to ensure that we follow the process the right way here. Christine, how do you feel about that? I'm not sure if I'm Adrian. What I'm not sure of is if it interrupts this whole process right now to split them. That I've never actually performed that on in a committee before, to pause and split. Tabling and other things I have.
Well, I think we first need to see if there's a second. And then I can discuss it.
It's a procedural motion. It does not need a second.
Okay. Well, I guess because of the difficulty with voting, I would suggest maybe that we not even make the recommended change that I just retyped, or debundle and just vote on this and let the chips fall. It's not perfect, just like the group living proposal is not perfect, but we spent a lot of time thinking about this in several ZAP meetings. So
there's a motion on the table. Do I hear a vote?
George, hold on a second. I feel like I'm still the chair of this, and I was asking you to take a minute until we sorted through this procedural process. So if you would just give me a minute there. Could we take a 5-minute recess and I can call Christine on the phone, or Jane Larimore?
Yes.
And I want to know that you still, Cindy Johnstone, I have you here in the list and I haven't forgotten. Maybe actually, Cindy, would you like to go now before we take the break?
I was going to mention that it sort of supporting not supporting what's currently that Adrian just did, but I think that the discussion has been so helpful and involved about household definition, and that nothing has come up about, or not, I won't say nothing, but about the group living section of the proposal by Community Planning and Development, that this resolution, if we look at it, and it's asking to debundle the household definition and do more outreach. And then the registry, I think, could or could not even be in there, because I think what's happened right now proves the fact that CPD did not do a good outreach, that this whole process was 2 years in the making, and that it is difficult for the community to be engaged and feel engaged when a process takes 2 years. And so what we're hearing now from the community is, now I know what you're asking, and here's how I'm feeling. So I'm very much in support of this resolution. I'd like to keep it just as simple as possible and not get into debundling all three of them and all that kind of stuff. if I guess we're supposed to vote on Adrian's, but if nothing more, we could have a friendly amendment and just take out the second one with the rental registry and readmit that one when hopefully we talk about the household definition on its own or CPD. It's just comment, not anything more than that. I mean, that's another option. Instead of trying to make it work, just remove it friendly, with a friendly motion to remove that portion, unless people feel so strongly right now that it has to be in there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. If we could reconvene at 10:25 and we'll sort out this process. I personally feel this might require an amendment motion, but I need to go review the rules. Thank you.
Let's take a 5-minute recess.
I wish I had music to play. I'm still.
George, I said 10:25, which is actually more than 5 minutes. So 10:25 would work for us.
10:25, thank you.
I'm still trying to get an identifier on two names if you plan to vote. One is RTREY and the other one is SJNVE. And if you are not identified as a delegate, you may not vote. I do need it for attendance, please.
I am RTREY. My name is Reed Reynolds. I'm the president of the Old San Rafael Neighborhood Organization.
Thank you very much.
I would like to speak also. How do I get in line?
You raise your hand. And so go to your tile. I'll just let Ian know that you want to be in there.
Okay, I can't see on the screen how I do that.
Okay, I'll just make sure Ian knows.
Thank you.
Oh, well, okay. Thank you for changing your name.
Left in my heart, and though it's bruised, time to fix it. You can build from what you left.
All right, everyone, we're gonna call us back to order now. After conversation with Christine and we believe that the motion here to accomplish what you're looking to do, Adrian, is that you would vote to amend the motion by removing 2 of these resolution items so that one would go forward individually. And then we would have the other 2 could each be presented by Christine because she's a delegate as a motion on the floor separately to be voted on. So Christine's gonna go ahead and type the motion up on the screen. And then Adrian, I'm gonna allow you, or we're gonna invite you back to make the motion. And again, I believe the motion is that you move to amend this motion by removing paragraphs 2 and 3 so that one can move forward on its own and we can continue with debate. We also were suggesting that perhaps we might make a motion to amend additionally to allow us to vote online by a poll, and so that we could introduce each of these 3 resolutions and then make sure they're mailed to the delegate as a whole to be voted on separately.
Yeah, I can't share the screen.
Can you invite you back on? And Christine, can you share your screen with the written Word document so that we could
take yours off.
this motion?
If you take your screen off, I can.
Adrian, do you understand how we think that this can go procedurally?
Ian, I can't share until you.
Adrian, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah. I love the picture of Cape Town too.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. My volume was turned down. That's my fault.
I can't share, Ian, because you're sharing.
Oh, I'm sharing a screen right now? How did I get a control of it? Okay, well then I'll pull up a document and I'll type it myself then.
I can read it. I move to, this would be Adrian's motion. I move to amend this motion by removing paragraphs 2 and 3, period.
I think you need to put the resolution back up.
Point of order.
Go ahead, Joel.
Robert's rules, if we're using Robert's rules, does have a motion type for exactly this case. It's called moving for division of a question, and it is in order when there's a motion on the table, which there is. And I believe that Adrian, in other words, is calling for division of the question to consider each part separately. If division of the question is voted on, if the majority votes yes, we will divide the question, then we would proceed to vote on each part separately. So, you know, it's not surprising this has come up before in the history of parliamentary procedures.
Well, thank you for your research there, because we didn't see that on the quick guide. So we appreciate that. So Adrian, I think that will be the motion that we will make.
I am perfectly happy with that formulation of the question, and I believe it needs to be voted on now without further discussion.
Yeah, you need a second. You need a second, I would imagine.
The procedural motion does not need a second.
Since you have it pulled up,
According
Joel,
to Robert's rules, newly revised, this motion does require a second, but then proceeds to a vote on dividing the question without further debate.
So if they vote yes to divide it, then we just go on. We'll just go straight to a vote on it.
No.
It doesn't call the question, but it does mean that you've agreed that you will consider votes on each part separately.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
I'll second the motion on the floor in order to allow us to proceed forward.
Who was that?
That was Tim Carl with Virginia Village Ellis Community Association.
All right, I see people. Cindy, you still have your hand up. Marlene, do you have your hand up? And then I'm going to ask everyone to lower their hands. And then Jane Lamar or Jane Potts, are you going to do the counting, the hands up?
Yes.
Okay, so Marlene, is your hand up because you want to be in the queue?
No, my hand isn't. I'm trying to get it down and it won't get down. I have no question.
Okay, Jane, I see your hand up.
Wait.
Jane Potts. Are you voting already, Jane Potts? Okay, your hand's down. Okay. So we have in a second. Jane Amber or Jane Potts, do you know how many delegates that we have in the room now? I know you counted earlier, 40 delegates, but.
Sorry, we have 46.
Okay.
Hello? Hello?
Yes?
I don't see where you vote. I don't see where you have the hands up on the screen.
You go down to the bottom of your screen to the word participants. Double click on that, and a separate box with a list of participants will come up. To raise your hand.
Oh, I see. It says raise hand.
At the very bottom, and that's
Okay.
also where you remove your hand. But Jane, are we voting?
Okay, thank you.
So the vote is if you're in favor of Adrian's resolution, is that correct?
Yes.
Then you indicate raise your hand. And if you can't figure it out, or you're on the phone, you can chat. You can put in your vote in chat if you're voting in favor.
And if you're voting in favor by the phone, then you can say aye on the phone and tell us who you are.
And my hand is up, but I can't do it as a host, so.
Hello, this is Drew. How do you vote either no or abstain?
We'll
We
get to
haven't
know,
called for
and then
that.
yeah,
So
get
we'll
to know.
call each, you'll call each. Okay, so we'll do it 3 times.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
So if you're in favor, please raise your hand.
Would you repeat again what I'm in favor or opposed to?
A motion to divide the question and vote on separately.
But how are we?
What are we voting on, Ian?
Can you read the exact motion? You were typing it, Christine. The motion is to move to divide the question. Division of the question.
That's it. We're only voting on Adrian's motion.
Yes.
To divide the question.
This has, and how are we? Oh, okay. So.
Each paragraph will become its own vote.
And this will be sent to the delegates to vote on after the meeting is over?
Oh. That's
no, we would continue to vote the same as we would today. We would just vote on each separate section.
Oh my goodness.
Would you explain to everyone how to vote using the chat section at the bottom lower part to vote?
If you go along the bottom until you click on chat, it pulls up a chat on the right-hand side of your screen. And where it says type a message, you can say, I vote yes, or just type yes.
Or go to participants and click on there's a space that says raise hand.
We have 24 yeses.
Okay. Can you lower everyone's hand on your end?
Not automatically, it's one by one.
If everyone could lower their hands, and then Jane can grab whoever still there.
Yeah, they all did. Well.
And Jane Potts, you see the yeses on the chat here?
I do.
Okay, great.
So all of those against, raise your hand.
And George is raising his hand on screen again, just so you see.
And I am raising my hand. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. George 10, Jane 12.
Emmett, are you raising your hand? Larry, are you raising your hand? So there's 2 more?
Yes. Well, I have 1, 2. Okay. Let me do it again. So there's 12. No.
With Larry and Emmett, it's 14.
Okay.
Okay. Great work, y'all. And then abstentions. Oh, these
Lower
are
your
so
hands.
people still have their hands. Everyone needs to lower their hands. Yeah.
Okay. Abstentions, please raise your hand. I see 1. So 39 voted out of 46, unless we can't see somebody.
Anyone on the phone?
That seems
Just wanna
right.
double check that. Okay.
So it passed at 24, 14 no, 1 abstention.
Okay. So then we move back to.
Oh, wait, there's 2.
Conversation.
2 abstain. Sorry, was a late.
Okay, so we'll move back to regular debate about these 3-minute rules again. Cindy Johnson, you were the last one I had on here. You spoke a little. Do you have anything else you want to say?
No, nothing else. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go back to where we were before, which is raise your hands if you have something to say. And then when we finally get to the point where we call it to question, we'll vote on each one of these separately. So I see Emily and then Reed. Emily Walker. Okay, we'll come back then. Reed Reynolds.
Okay. Couple things by background. Our neighborhood organization, Old San Rafael, one of our board members, Chris Coddington, served on the GLAC, one of the few RNO people. And he's been very active. Marty Jones, our vice president, has also followed this very closely. And we have spent a fair amount of time over the last 2 years on this. When the resolution came to us, we met last Tuesday, had about a 45-minute discussion, and the board voted 5-1 to not support it. Now that it's been divided, I would like to take each of the issues back to the board. I think the debundling might get approval from the board. That's speculation on my part. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone else have anything else to say? I don't see any other hands up. Christine, were you going to move to amend or no?
You mean the second paragraph? We're voting on the first part, I thought.
We're just back to conversation. We're not to voting yet. I didn't think.
I just don't want to lose people on this call. That's
You're going to.
I know. So I would like to, how about I try this? I want to call voting on the first division, as Joel put it, regarding this resolution, that INC recommends that Denver debundle the household definition portion of the proposal and the residential care portion of the proposal, period.
Okay, so you're calling to end debate.
Mm-hmm.
So it says here that you need a second, and then we go to a vote to end debate.
I second it.
Is that Bridget?
Yeah.
Hi, Bridget. Okay, well then we'll go to a vote. And are you, and then Sally, I saw your hand was raised. Adrian, I see your hand is raised. Jane Potts, are you ready to vote for a yes in the calling to question?
Well, she can't see it, so.
Okay, well then you too, Jane Lammer. Whomever's ready.
So would you repeat the motion on the table?
Yes. Christine was moving to end debate and vote on question.
Question 1.
All those in favor?
Yeah, and I can't find a place to raise my hand, but I'm raising my hand.
Who are you, Bridget? Okay.
Right, thank you.
Okay.
George has his hand up as well.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Somebody just clicked me off. I have to do this again, I'm sorry. I have 21 in favor, plus 3 other hands. So that's 24 again are in favor.
Okay, if everyone could lower their hands.
We're voting to vote.
Yes, that's my understanding, is just voting to call the question.
All right, all those who are voting no, so that we continue to debate rather than calling to question.
24 said yes. How many say no? One. Any abstain? None. One. So 26 out of 46 voted. 24 are in favor. 1 says no. 1 abstains.
Can I make a comment? This is Miles from Congress Park. I was looking at the participants and I saw a lot more supporting votes. So I think we've got a problem with our counting.
I agree, Travis. I counted over 30, 32 to be exact. 33 to be exact. And the problem is that you have to scroll down with the participant list. They put all of the hands up on the top of the list, but you've got to scroll down until there are no hands up. But it doesn't matter, the motion passes anyway.
It passed. I apologize if I missed somebody. The screen keeps getting interrupted by the shared screen, so
I'll take it down.
I caught everybody.
You can't, I don't think you should take it down. It's what people are voting on, Christine. Sorry.
Okay, the problem is I have to take it down to vote. That's why I've been going back and forth.
Oh, okay.
I
also counted 30.
Verbally vote. Good grief. Come on.
Okay, so are you all okay with going forward, or do you think we should do that again, considering there was a discrepancy of 9 people?
It passed and it was just a call for the vote, so I think we go on.
Okay.
I'd like to call the question and vote on debundling the household definition portion of the proposal and the residential care portion of the proposal.
I second it, Bridget.
All right, Adrian, I might have you also count, if that's okay with you, see if we come up with the same numbers. Jane, remember when you're ready for a yes vote, you just let them know.
Yes, call for yes.
On section 1.
Section 1.
And if there's anyone who needs to vote in the chat, please do so now. It looks like Larry's voting online. And Emmett is as well.
Wait, oh wait, are you on no already? Yeah.
No, we're still on yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, the screen keeps changing at my end, so I apologize because I have to, I lost my place in counting.
It's doing it all along.
I know it. Just stop right now. So,
okay, so then I'll share and keep the share up, and I will not vote on that system.
As of right now, there are 37 hands up.
That's what I count too.
38.
Okay. Let's put our hands down and then we'll vote the noes and abstentions.
38 yes. So please lower all your hands. Any opposed? I see 8. Somebody verify, please.
I agree.
8. Okay, 8 no. And any, please lower your hands. I think there was 9, actually, one at the bottom. Okay, any abstain, raise your hand. I see 2.
And Joel is 3.
Okay. So that is 28 voting, 24 for, 1 no, 3 abstain.
Did you get Joel abstaining?
Yes.
Christine?
What?
Are you typing on the screen right now? Okay.
I'm typing.
Can you repeat the vote?
24 in favor, 1 not in favor, 3 abstain. 28 voting and 46 delegates present.
I thought it was 38.
I thought it was 38 yeses.
Well, oh, excuse me.
You're reading the wrong line?
8, no, I am. I put it in the wrong note. 38 yes, 8 no, 3 abstention.
Okay, how do we now get about 15 more votes than we could on the last one?
Right. How are the delegate number off?
We knew we had a mistake. We knew we had a mistake last time. We talked about that. Jane, does this match the other Jane's numbers?
Well,
yes,
it shows 49 voting, but there's only.
Okay, Jane, I just want to make sure you got it right. That you both had 38, 8 and 3. You both had it, both of you.
yes.
Yeah, and the reason it's so different from before, Loretta, is because there was a miscount, and we brought that up and asked if we should do a revote. So we're trying to get it right this time. Okay, well, that passes the debundling. So we're on to the second one.
So I'd like to introduce an amendment, a proposed amendment to the second paragraph in line with Tim Carl's comments and several other comments. And I cannot underline on the screen to show you the differences, so you'll have to listen. INC recommends that Denver not move forward on the new household definition portion of the text amendment without addressing the many issues raised by neighbors regarding enforcement and external impacts, i.e. parking, infrastructure, trash, number of people in a unit, close parens, and without implementing a concurrent regulation regarding a rental registry to provide protection to renters in Denver, period. Such a registry would be through excise and licensing and could require registration, licensing, and inspection of all properties being used as rentals.
I think if you're going to change it, we need to post this, because you can't change an amendment without posting it. And I think it needs to be posted. I think as delegates, we need to take it back to our neighborhoods. And I'd like to have another vote on that with my neighborhood. So I'm just saying that I think we need to post this. If we're going to have a new change on it, it needs to be posted for everyone to view.
So if you're saying if I go back to the original language, we can have the vote. If I remove my proposed amendment, we can vote today on paragraph 2.
Correct, because you can't have a proposal that hasn't gone out and it hasn't been posted and we haven't given it to them. So I would go back to our bylaws and say, I don't think we can do that. I don't think you can have this without posting it, without having everybody an opportunity to take it to their members of their RNO and then have a vote, because I'm not.
Can Joel weigh in on that? Because plenty of times in annual meetings, we have new resolutions and amendments to resolutions. So Joel, can you weigh in?
Yeah, I'll make a point of order. I do not believe making a motion to an amendment is in order after the question has been called and the members have voted to end debate on it. Making amendments is part of debate.
I think we only called.
I think that's true too. I think that's true too. I think we have to amend before you call the question.
I didn't call all 3. We called, the question we called was voting on the first paragraph.
We voted earlier to separate the whole thing so it stayed together as a group, and then we voted to call the question to vote through them all. The debate's closed because I think you would have to vote for that around the.
I withdraw my amendment if that's Robert's rules. And is there anybody else on this call who has a comment on Robert's rules? Okay. Removed.
So then we would go to the yes vote on this. Yeah, read your hands up. Can you put it down before the vote? Thank you.
What are we voting for?
Yeah.
We are voting yes on the second paragraph.
We'll read it because not everybody has it on
INC
screen.
recommends that Denver not move forward on the new household definition portion of the text amendment without a concurrent regulation creating a rental registry, period. Such a registry would be through excise and licensing and could require registration, licensing, inspection of all properties being used as rentals. And I'm voting yes, but because I can't raise my hand without taking this off, I'm going to ask you to just count me.
Well, this is yes for rental regulation, basically, right?
Yes, the second paragraph.
Did you call for hands to be raised?
Yes.
I'm counting 15.
I have 30, including Christine, and then Pam is 31.
Wait, okay.
32, 33 with Patricia and Emmett. I have 32.
Okay, plus 2 that are not showing.
I counted 3 in the chat, and I also counted Christine.
And me.
There should be one from me too. This is Maggie.
So there's 4 additional, right?
Yeah.
So 36 in favor.
Yeah, just give me 1 more minute, please. Yeah, I have 36.
I agree.
Jane, are you going to do no's?
Yes. So please lower all the hands. Okay. Let me just lower everybody's hands. Okay. Okay, so all of those opposing? I see 3. Somebody verify, please.
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
Agree.
Any abstentions, but we need lower hands first, please. Anyone abstaining?
Joel.
Lower everybody's hand, please, right now. So we have 39 who have voted so far. So who is abstaining? That would be, okay, so 1, 2. There's 6 abstaining, which doesn't match the delegate.
7 with Joel.
Somebody verify. You have to have a D before your name to vote, please.
They all do have a D before their name.
Christine, could you mute yourself if you're typing?
I'm not typing.
Claire, would you advise the count, please?
Yeah, right now I have 36 yes, 3 no, 7 abstentions. But I'm recounting the D's too.
Why do I not have a D?
Jane, pause the yours match.
Somebody please mute that is thumping around.
Okay. So 36 in favor, 3 oppose, 7 abstain is 46 voting. So it reconciles.
Does that match your other numbers?
It does. Please lower your hands.
Okay, can you read the results then again? Then it passes.
36 in favor, 3 oppose, 7 abstain.
Okay. So the last one we'll be calling for yes, though. INC recommends the city rethink and make mandatory outreach by CPD to minority communities to persons not active in RNOs and receiving communication from RNOs, or through social media to the broader community not reached in the 4 town halls, and to renters, so as to proactively gather input from all corners of the city. INC strongly recommends that CPD is required to include Black, Indigenous, people of color, and renters in full discussions for every planning initiative and for work on all proposed amendments. So Jane, when you're ready, call for a yes.
Yes vote, please.
Will you add Christine to the yes vote so I can keep the screen up? Thank you.
And Maggie and Jane.
I now have 37, Jane.
Just 1 second. Okay, I'm at 37 also.
Okay.
So is Jane Potts.
Oh, good.
All right, if everyone could lower their hands.
Please lower your hands. Okay, all those opposed? I see 3.
Yes.
Yes.
Please lower your hands. Any abstentions?
Yeah.
I have 5.
I'm showing, well, I'm only showing 4. Who's the 5th?
Joel's in the chat. Plus
Joel.
Joel in the chat.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So we agree. So the call is 30
Okay.
yes, 3 oppose, 5 abstentions. So 45 of the 46 voted.
And it passes?
It passes.
Okay, Christine, are you on the line?
I am.
We'll work to get this letter crafted and sent on over to the city for
That's
Monday.
great. And can I remind people that there's a lot more to discuss here? We didn't even touch on several issues, and I'm hoping people will join the Zoom call next Saturday, July 25th. We're having 2 items. One is the proposed ADU a text amendment that Councilwoman Sandoval has put forward for Chaffee Park. That'll go first at 9:30, and then probably about 10:15, we'll start discussing the just released text amendment. Thank you.
And I just want to chime in because I think it's imperative. that we are delegates. We need to go back to our neighborhoods and we need to like discuss things with our neighborhoods. So I just want to keep stressing that.
And thank you everybody for bearing with this process. It went rather smoothly, but it's a learning curve.
Yes,
And it takes a village. So I thank everybody for helping me count and keep up.
This is Drew Dutcher. I'm a delegate at large from Elyria Swansea Neighborhood Association. I want to really thank the people, both Janes and Blair
Maggie.
for this great work, and Maggie.
Maggie.
Maggie, the great work doing this. This was a little painful, but you know, we got through it. And I also want to congratulate our new president, Loretta. Thank you, everyone.
You're here. Congratulations to
Hear,
everyone
hear.
who was elected.
Thanks. I'd like to just say a couple of things because, so this is Loretta. I just want to go on record and say that I think, you know, one of the things that I think we see is that there's diversity in the city of Denver, and we all have a different perspective. And I think the thing is that I'd like to make sure that we get a broad-based perspective of Denver and the range that we have of Denver, and we all kind of try to come together. And it's good when we can all have discussions and we all have our differences, clearly different neighborhoods, different perspectives, but I'd love to see that we all have an opportunity to share and to grow with each other and learn from each other. And I think we're at a trying time, and I think with the trying time of COVID-19 and the issues that are confronting all of us, especially with the downturn in the economy, that I think has affected some of us more than others. I think some people were not on this because they don't have a capability to get, you know, the opportunity to be on by Zoom or by phone. I deal with a lot of people day to day who don't have much income, and I think we need to look at how we can engage people and how we can engage everybody around the city. So that's just a short, you know, perspective for me here. And I just want to make sure that we all I keep chiming in. I'm a delegate. I go back to my neighborhood. I want to hear from my neighbors because I am not in a vacuum, and I feel like we're all living at a time when we spend more time alone and at home. So if there's ways for us to get out and communicate to our neighbors, either by Zoom or by email, and knowing how their perspectives are, it's helpful, just so we have a feel of the city. Thanks.
Anyone else? Remember that neighborhoods work better when we work together. In conclusion.
One more thing.
Yes.
I'm sorry if I forgot, but did we approve Greg Sorensen?
I'm requesting that go online and do it online.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Oh, George, are you going to announce the donations that INC made?
I did, but I'll do it again.
Okay.
In fact, I'll read the statement one more time. You had to say that, didn't you? And this goes to Jane Potts for all the work that she has done over the past 2 years in chairing the dinner committee and made everything fun and enjoyable and profitable, to the point that in the last couple of months, INC has donated $25,000 to needy food banks throughout Denver. Again, Jane Potts, thank you for all your excellent work. Denver loves people like you, and we do too. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, hearing none other, meeting adjourned. Thank you.